In 1920, Mary Tortel, a children's illustrator who had started work in the late Victorian era, would create a comic strip character for the newspaper where her husband worked that would be an icon of British children's media for the next century. After her departure from the Daily Express due to ill health in 1935, her successor, Alfred Bestall, created annuals, which became such a staple Christmas present that they were published every year since, including during the paper shortages of the Second World War. This character would be adapted for television 4 times, adapted for video games twice, and adapted into a short film by a little-known British animator named Geoff Dunbar, and a musician about to return to the big screen in his first screenwriting attempt by the name of Paul McCartney. You might have heard of that last one. The character is Rupert Bear, and the short film was Rupert and the Frog Song. Rupert and the Frog Song follows the classic comic strip character Rupert Bear as he takes a walk into the hills. As he explores, he discovers a hidden cave where an array of colourful frogs are congregating to witness a once-in-a-lifetime performance. I did grow up with Rupert Bear. He wasn't a huge part of my childhood or anything, and I can't actually remember anything about it apart from the title character's iconic look, but I do remember that I experienced it. This short was originally shown before Paul's film Give My Regards to Broad Street, so it seemed appropriate to review the short shown before the feature. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to be the first to watch that. A shortened version of the song segment was broadcast as the official music video at the time. It was then released on VHS alongside animated music videos to 2 of Linda's songs. It was then re-released on DVD in 2004 with the addition of 2 of McCartney's 3 other animated collaborations with animator Geoff Dunbar. This version added the clip of McCartney picking up his childhood Rupert annual that was originally the opening of the music video, but they added CGI sparkles for some reason. Let me know if you want me to review any of the other shorts I mentioned in the comments below. I'm sorry, Rupert is voiced by Paul McCartney.
I'm going for a walk in the hills. Do you want to come?
I have to do some shopping.
And I have to look after baby brother.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it definitely sounds like an adult playing a child, but I honestly wouldn't have thought Paul would have had the range. I can definitely hear him as the little frog, but not as Rupert.
Dad, hey Dad, when's the show going to start? Hey Dad?
If so, hats off to him. You may be thinking, wow, a #1 artist in an animated short film starring Rupert the Bear? Well, in fact, you would be wrong. There's 2 #1 artists in this voice cast. Windsor Davies was a Welsh actor who became best known for playing the brow-beating Battery Sergeant Major in the 70s and 80s Perry and Croft sitcom It Ain't Half Hot Mum. It was about a group of vaudeville entertainers performing for British soldiers during the war that the sergeant would harbour an active hatred for and would try and find reasons to send them to the front line with everyone else. Whilst he wasn't the biggest name attached, his fantastic performance as the sadistic antagonist became a major highlight of the series. His #1 hit came in 1975 with a novelty song that he performed in character, alongside the show's diminutive tenor, Donna Stell's Lofty, performing a cover of the 1940 song Whispering Grass, earning them both a UK #1. Unlike other Perry and Croft sitcoms, this one isn't rerun by the BBC, due to a combination of its portrayal of period-accurate prejudice and of just generally not aging well because, you know, the 70s. Anyway, he has a couple of small voice roles in this film as Rupert's father and this grouchy frog dad. I just thought it was a fun fact. The animation is great. I'm no expert in this field. It doesn't blow me away like the BFG did, but it creates an appropriate sense of atmosphere throughout. Whether it's Rupert doing handstands in the hills, to the looming threat of predators, to the song itself. A moment that stands out in my mind as being particularly notable is the part where the frogs dive into the water and we see abstract animation of them swimming, which definitely gives off a Fantasia vibe. As for the frog's song itself, We All Stand Together, which takes up most of the short's runtime, I like it. I know a lot of people don't, and I can see why, but it's not too saccharine for me. I get that it's out of place for Paul's repertoire, and I think its inclusion on any of his compilation albums was a mistake. I literally heard about this song from Mark Thomas making a joke about it. It's considered to be the punchline of Paul's 50-year solo career. However, as part of the short, yeah, it's perfect. I definitely prefer it to Paul's Beatles effort as a children's song, All Together Now, although it's no less of an earworm. I can see why quite a few people covered it during the pandemic due to its themes of togetherness. Then again, Temporary Secretary has gone from something I appreciate ironically to an earworm that has burrowed deep into my mind, so maybe I'm a bigger sucker for Paul's solo work than I realised. And hats off to George Martin for arranging the soundtrack. Despite it having a reputation for being a bit saccharine, I for one found Rupert and the Frog song to be a charming whimsical short that keeps things short and sweet. It just sets out to be a simple little family adventure, and it easily succeeds in doing so. If you're a fan of Paul or the Beatles in general, I recommend checking it out at least once to tick it off your Beatles media bucket list. Even if it's not for you, it's only around 10 minutes of your time. If you have kids, then yeah, it's a nice thing for them to watch. You'll probably find greater enjoyment in it. As for whether Rupert will ever return to our screens, his rights were acquired by a company that was acquired by a company that was acquired by NBC Universal, so we can only hope that they decide to do something with him at some point. Even if they only do it to make it their successor to Paddington, I wouldn't mind. If you want to see me fight the corner for an even more obscure enchanting British animated film, you can watch my review of the 1989 Cosgrove Hall adaptation of the BFG here. See you soon!
1, 2, 3.